Unpopular opinion. If you are not consistently selling in your business, you don't have a business. You have a hobby, and a really expensive hobby at it. I get it. I hear this all the time from people around me, and frankly, I felt this so many times, and there's still times where this comes up for me. Sales, it has a certain ick factor. It has a certain yuck. It's gotten a bit of a bad rep. And the irony is, everything in life truly is a sales pitch. I mean, you're either selling or being sold to, and that goes for every area of your life, way outside of your business. I mean, have you ever watched a kid bargain for just one more cookie, right? Or have you followed that thread in the group chat about how we really should go to that restaurant and not that instead? Everything in our life is a sales pitch, yet when it comes to the exchange of money, when it comes to traditional sales, especially when it comes to our businesses and personal brands, we freeze. When everything around you freezes and the little voice inside of your head says all the things I cannot repeat on here, and I'm allowed to swear on there because this is my podcast, but that voice, wow, what that says, let's not even get into that. So if you're anything like me and there's a contraction that comes up around sales, then this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Powerhouse Diaries, the podcast for and by brave, bold, and badass business owners. If you're an entrepreneur who has outgrown those cookie cutter business strategies and #girl boss cliches, you're in the right place. Because let's face it, entrepreneurship is at least equal parts messy buns and runny mascara as it is the highlight reel we see online. So let's get real about what it really takes to build and run a quote-unquote successful business, blood, sweat, and margaritas included. I'm your host, Yaela, your rebellious entrepreneurial fairy godmother, and join me as I sit down with rockstar female founders for the most juicy, deep, and meaningfuls around success, life, and everything in between. Now it's time for you to step into your powerhouse era. I'll be sharing the sales mindset and framework that legitimately changed my life and my business, and also the really uncomfortable conversation that got me to creating it. So turn back time to early 90s, somewhere in Amsterdam. Now in the Netherlands, there's this public holiday called, it used to be Queen's Day, now it's King's Day. And what happens during this holiday is the whole country transforms into one big flea market. And as every kid growing up in Amsterdam, I was so excited every year. We'd sell our old toys, we'd sell anything we didn't need anymore, anything we've crafted. And this year, 7 or 8-year-old me and my cousin were going out. We'd set up our stall. We'd gotten up early to make sure we got the best spot in the neighborhood. And we were going to sell all our old toys. My mum had set us up, she'd packed us a beautiful lunch, sent us off on our way. We felt all grown up and ready to go. So when we came home later that day, exhausted, but so satisfied that we'd sold all our toys and we'd, succeeded, I walked into the house and I was starving. And my mum asked me how I could be that hungry. After all, she'd packed me this beautiful lunch. And I replied, yeah, but I sold it. She's like, what do you mean you sold it, right? You sell your old toys and old clothes. I was like, yeah, but someone walked by and they said it looked yummy and they wanted to know if it was for sale. So I said yes. And so I did. Now, the difference between that 7-year-old, 8-year-old version of me who so unabashedly, without any reservations, was pitching my goddamn lunch to this random stranger, and the version of me that closes down and freaks out when it was time to make a sale. The biggest difference between those two versions of me was conviction and confidence. And it carried on into my adult life. As I grew up and went into corporate life as a sales manager and director, for crying out loud, I had no trouble selling because it was just like the sandwich was my mom's creation. The job I had, the product I was selling wasn't mine, and I was able to put all my resources and my energy behind it. Even when I founded my agency, even though it was my agency, I didn't struggle making sales. It was me kind of hiding behind the business name, the team. And with that buffer, with that armor, I was able to make sales. However, when I sold my business, 5-6 years ago, all of a sudden, I started building a personal brand. I was selling me, and I absolutely froze. I'd get ridiculously awkward. That just didn't translate. But I did all the right things. And what I mean by that is I was so determined to succeed because I just sold the agency. I was still very much living in a state of wanting to prove my worth and just abilities to some invisible force. So I really wanted to make a name for myself at that time, just as a coach. That was my offering. But it wasn't working. It wasn't converting. And I really struggled with it. It was a big blow to the ego because coming from an agency background, and before that, having a sales background, how the fuck is it possible that I can't even pitch myself? It was very humbling. So I did what any starting entrepreneur, I think, would do. I looked for answers everywhere. I followed every strategy, every template, every 10-step plan I could find and implemented it, but nothing really converted. In hindsight, obviously it didn't. It wasn't me, right? But I remember very distinctly being on a call with one of my coaches and whining. There's no other word for it. I was just complaining and whining. I'm like, I'm doing all the right things and I'm doing this and this and this, and it's not converting. And this coach, his name is Preston Smiles, he's amazing, look him up, said to me, he let me finish, he let me rant. And then at the end of it, he's like, I know what your problem is. And I lit up. I was like, this is it. Now I'm going to get the formula for success. He's going to give me some kind of 5-step plan to success, and it's all going to be fixed. And he says, no, I know what your problem is. You're being a dick. Yeah. What? And he had the courtesy to elaborate on that, but that landed for me. And I said, what do you mean I'm being a dick? He's like, you're being a dick, Yaela. You're making it about you. And it hit me. I was being a dick. I was making it about me. Because if I really believed, he continued to explain, that my offer, my service, my product, even a social media post, anything I'm trying to get out there in the world, right? If I truly believe it has the potential to positively impact just one out of the 8 billion people walking this earth, if I really believe that, then it's not just an option, it's my obligation to share that with the world. And just like that, my perspective changed. And from that conversation, the A.S.H.O.L.E sales strategy was born, because I decided I was no longer going to be a dick. I was going to be an asshole. Are you loving this episode as much as I am? I just love telling the stories of these incredible female founders and sharing their crazy journeys with you, with all the ups and the downs and the learning, so that we can all feel seen, feel heard, and feel less alone in this crazy ride that is entrepreneurship. I want to ask you a favor. It'll take about 2 seconds. Just jump on the platform where you're listening or watching from and hit subscribe or follow. That helps us so much in continuing telling these fantastic stories, keeping the Powerhouse Diaries alive and free. Before I go into the exact details of what the A.S.H.O.L.E sales strategy really entails, I still love it. It still cracks me up. Don't be a dick, be an asshole. I want to take a minute and circle back on the notion of not making it about you. One of the examples that really came up for me as I was contemplating this and reflecting and honestly just digesting the hard pill I was just given to swallow, I was sitting with the analogy of a doctor, right? So if we believe our product, service, message has the potential to help someone out, to truly change someone's life, even if it's just one person, right? And I know that it's true for you. Like, I know it's true for you listening. I know it's true for me, because no one does this crazy delusional thing called entrepreneurship and keeps going if they don't believe that there is purpose, there is meaning in what they do, that they are making an impact, no matter how small or how big, that they are creating some ripple effect of awesomeness. I know this is true for everyone listening, and I know it was true for me at the time. So if I'm looking at it from that lens, it's kind of like there's people walking around with a disease, right? They are sick. Whatever they are sick with is whatever they are currently experiencing, the discomfort they're experiencing, the stress, the anxiety, the depression, the financial scarcity, whatever that may be. They are walking around sick, and you are a doctor, and you have the cure. In your hand, you have the cure for that particular disease. I know that to be true because often it was us, right? Often we were in that position. That's how we learned the skills, and often that's the driver for the businesses that we start, or at least part of it. So there's these people walking around, they're not well, and you hold the cure. Are you going to be like, I'm not going to tell them, like I don't want to because, whatever, maybe they'll think I'm pushy, or maybe they'll judge me, or no, there's people dying. They're sick out there. You're going to give them the medicine because it's about the medicine. It's about the gift. It's about your service, your offer, your product, whatever that is a genuine solution to a problem for people. And once I started seeing it like that, it was much easier to take myself out of the equation. So ask yourself, how is my offer medicine? Who is it medicine for? Get really clear, like picture them, visualize them so close, so clearly that you can almost touch them and understand what are their problems, right? What are they sick with? I like to call it 4 a.m. problems. And what I mean by that is a lot of us entrepreneurs, when we go about pitching, selling, offering our solutions, we come from a very excited puppy dog energy because we are so excited about our product or our solution, right? And we speak directly into all the ways in which this is amazing, instead of reverse engineering it to what is relevant for them. So a little practice exercise for you to do before we get into the A.S.H.O.L.E sales strategy is to really sit with the question, what are the 4 a.m. problems of my ideal client avatar? By 4 a.m. problems, I mean, what is keeping them up at night? So for example, as some of you might know, I also am an executive business coach, right? Trauma-informed business coach. And I know the power of my work. I have seen lives, businesses, movements transform. But no one lies awake at night thinking, I really wish I would feel more connected to my body and my emotional body. I really wish I could silence my internal negative dialogue and really create more collaborative internal reality. No one lies awake thinking that. Fuck that. They lie awake thinking, shit, I want to scale my business, but I don't know how. I can't. Why isn't this working for me? They lie awake feeling burnt out, disconnected, like a stranger in their own lives because of the lack of internal integration. That is what is relevant to them. That is their 4 a.m. problem. So get clear on what their problem is and get clear on how your service, product, offer, whatever is the medicine to that, so that you can really speak directly to them. That's a little side note. Sit with that. But okay, we've visualized that. We're there. Now let's get into the details of the A.S.H.O.L.E sales structure. So it's an acronym, and we'll break it down with some examples. The A stands for ask. This kind of ties into what I was talking about earlier. A lot of us, especially under pressure, when we need to make a sale or we want to make a sale, we forget to ask questions. We go into sending mode. We are so excited. We have the solution. We know exactly what they need. And instead of being curious and asking and getting a better understanding around their world, we go into go mode, send mode, megaphone mode. So the first step is ask. Be genuinely curious. Get to know this person, their needs, their wants, and what they're truly looking for. Now be aware with the ask part, there is often a discrepancy between what people say they need or want and what they actually need, right? However, the information they will give you about what they think they want will help you identify what it is they truly need. So I'll give you an example from my personal practice. One of the clients I've been working with for years initially came to me with a desire to scale their business, to become 50% of a power couple, and to really rule the world. I'm exaggerating wildly, but you get the gist. Yet underneath, the need that was really being expressed was something very different. So asking the question is giving you the full map for any other part of the sales process. It's very important. Don't skip over it. We can close off in our pitch nerves and just skip over that. Always ask. Now, the second letter, the S, stands for see. See the person standing across from you. And I know this sounds ridiculously simple, and it is. It's not easy, it's simple. And by see, I mean is validate them. We live in a world where people are so busy. The simple gift of acknowledgement, of presence, of being validated and seen is going to do the legwork for the rest of the sale with you. Repeat back to them what they have shared and when you asked, right? Repeat back. Am I hearing this correctly? What I'm picking up is, am I understanding this when I hear you say blah, blah, blah? So important to reflect it back. A, to just check where you are at. And B, to make someone feel seen and heard and just acknowledged. It sounds ridiculously simple, but it's so important. Only after we've asked and we've validated and seen them, we move on to the second S, which is the solution, right? That is the magic pill you have to offer. And don't get lost in all the specifications and the details and, it's a 6 weeks program with 2 calls a week, or this is this product and it comes with this many extra parts, whatever the details are. Go into why this is the solution for their problem, right? For their ask, for what they need. See how your product, service, offer is that magic pill, and share that with them. Share that with them without any shame. You can ask permission if that feels better. If you're like, hey, would you mind? I have this thing. I think it would be a good fit for you. By all means, tell me if it's not, but I'd love to share it. I'd feel like a complete, pun intended, asshole if I didn't share this with you, because based on what they just shared. So we've asked, we've seen, we've offered them the solution, and then we hold space. Now, this is the most uncomfortable and least practiced part of the A.S.H.O.L.E strategy. This is the scary part, right? We've put ourselves out there, seemingly, not really, and now also we have to remember this is just a solution we think that could work. Like this, it can be met with a yes or a no, but we hold space for them, especially when it comes to either big investments or investments that are close to the heart, feel vulnerable. It is really important to acknowledge the internal processing that needs to take place. Imagine if this is what's happening for you behind the scenes, what's happening for them internally when they're dealing with a big decision like that. Hold space for them. Hold them in their highest, right? Especially if you're in the business of transformation. Hold them in that vision that they had sketched for themselves and what they want, and really allow for the space for them to process. You can even go as far as to kind of preempt any reaction that comes up for them, saying, hey, I know this is a scary thing. You may feel like this or this or this. This is so normal. I've had this happens all the time. This happens to me as well. Really hold the space for them to have their own process. And that means not just in that very moment, but follow up, follow through. Like this, often we let our fear get in the way of following up on sales conversations because we're like, oh, well, we've asked it. They clearly don't want it. You don't know. You don't know. So follow up, follow through in a respectful manner, but hold the space for them to choose themselves, because That is essentially what we're talking about, right? They're choosing a solution that is going to change their lives. The O in A.S.H.O.L.E stands for objections. There's going to be objections to any sales pitch, especially high-ticket sales pitches. First of all, keep in mind, those objections are objections and fears and stories that are coming up for them. It's not a rejection towards you. It's not a rejection in any way at all. It is a way to really walk them through the process. So don't be afraid of the objections, right? Get curious about the concerns they have and get curious about the fears that underpin that. Because I promise you, it is never about the money, even though most people will say it's about the money, especially with a high-ticket offer. It is never about the timing, because most people will say it's about the timing, and I'll tell you why. Because if you are sick and genuinely unwell, and you go to the doctor, and he says, or she says, here is a magic pill that will make all your symptoms go away, you're going to make that work. You're going to find that money. You're going to find the time to go through this treatment. You are going to do anything to be well. So those objections are often knee-jerk reactions and or an indication that the first part of the A.S.H.O.L.E strategy can be refined. Right? That it's not clear enough for them that this is indeed the magic pill that's going to change their life. Now, after that, we let go. Yes, let go. And what I mean by that is high intention. Your intention is very clear. You want them, you want to serve them, you want to help them, you know that this is going to make a difference, but low attachment. We don't attach to it coming in a certain moment, a certain timeline, a certain way. The reason I say this, I know it sounds counterintuitive. I'm teaching you my sales framework and I'm like, let go, just chill, just go and drink a Bloody Mary. Actually, always go and drink a Bloody Mary. That's always a good idea. But in terms of the sales process, what this does, leaving the kind of more spiritual woo-woo aspects, manifestation aspects of it aside, which I'll do a whole other episode on. Energetically, we are energetic beings, right? People feel us way before they hear our words, read what we write. And if we are desperately holding on, that is really icky energy to be around. Even if people can't put their finger on it, it's true. I mean, just think about it. Have you ever been pursued by someone who wanted to date you or perhaps an ex who is just clinging on, like white knuckling, holding on so tightly to you being a version that they've created in their head that is just kind of like desperate and I'll do anything and I'll make it work? That's not sexy. The same is true in any aspect of life, especially in sales, right? Dating, I mean, it's like a constant fucking sales pitch, right? Energetically, let go. Have a high intention. Set the intention of helping this person, changing their life, working with this person. Be very clear, give it your all, but let go of the idea of how it needs to look or how it needs to come to fruition. You create and leave space for that to come to be. Miracles happen. I have a actually really top of mind example of that. And now I don't recommend that for every sale you make, but about a year ago, actually literally a year ago, I was introduced by one of my coaching clients to another high performance coach, a friend of hers. And we were introduced, we were connected, and we were supposed to have a discovery call to see if I could help her as a coach. And that call never happened. I followed up, I followed through, I followed my A.S.H.O.L.E steps. But at one point, there was no response. And there's a point where I, let go. Fast forward a year, and I get a message from this person. Hey, I don't know what happened. This message just disappeared. I know it's been a year. But can we jump on a call? The next day, she signed up to work with me. This is a year later, all because, yes, I followed up, I followed through, but also I let go. Was that lead completely dead? No, but it came through in a very different timeline than expected. Moving on, because we're almost there. The last letter of the A.S.H.O.L.E strategy is E for elevate. And by elevate, I mean hold them in their highest. Your solution, your offer, your service is like a portal to a version of them they want, but cannot yet access themselves, or at least not in the time frame or with the ease that they could with your help. Remind them of that version. Remind them of the change they are looking to create. And something I really like to talk about with them when we're in that stage of elevate is the COI. Now, what's the COI? Everyone here talks about the ROI. We all know what that is, right? The return on investment. When we're in sales conversations, people want to know, but what's the return? What's the timeline in which I can expect a return? A much more interesting conversation is, what is the COI? What is your cost of inaction? What does it cost you truly to not take this step, to not go all in on yourself and be in the exact same position you are in now, in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years, right? What is the cost to you? What is the cost to your team, to your brand, to your family, to your wider community? Who loses when you lose? And I think when people get clear on the cost of inaction, it is near impossible to not make the sale, because you're not making a sale. You're being of service. And in the end, that's what all of this is about. Whatever it is your business is, whatever stage you are in, you are here to be of service. You are here to create some form of impact, and your service, your product offer has the power to do that. So, wrapping it up, don't be a dick, be an asshole. What does that mean? First, we ask them all the questions, we see them, we validate them, then we offer the solution, we hold them, we stay with them, we follow up, we follow through, we don't let them die off and give up on themselves. We deal with their objections and we dive deeper, we welcome them, we invite them, and we really go to what is underneath those objections. We let go. We detach from the outcome and we elevate. We hold them to their highest. And that, my friends, is the Powerhouse Alliance A.S.H.O.L.E sales strategy. Now ask yourself, maybe take a moment after this podcast and ask yourself, where in my business am I still getting in the way of making a difference, of making sales, of being of service? Where am I making it about me? And what can I shift to really see my business, see my offer as the medicine that it is for the right people? I hope you take this sales strategy into your day, into your week, into your business, and I hope it has the same transformational effect for you as it did for me. If it does, feel free to share it on Instagram at _Powerhouse_Alliance. Tag us and let me know how you go with the A.S.H.O.L.E Sales Strategy Challenge. I cannot wait to see what this does for you. So recapping it, sales isn't sleazy. Avoiding it isn't noble. You're actually doing the world a disservice. You're sitting on gold. You're not selling for approval. You're inviting someone into their next level. And you making it about you is actually just being a dick. So don't be a dick, be an asshole.